I swear I didn't sign up to be anyone's unpaid nanny, dog walker, and errand girl all at once. That's what ran through my head as I stood on my porch, gripping my coffee while across the street, the chaos of suburban life seemed to unfold in slow motion. I had moved into this little townhome community just outside Austin last fall, a place with perfectly trimmed lawns, HOA rules that made sure even the shrubs waved politely, and vinyl fences that were too clean to be real. At first, it was peaceful. I worked from home for a logistics software startup, took my corgi, Scout, for walks twice a day, and mostly kept to myself. Life was simple, quiet, predictable. Then Jenna moved in next door. She was in her early 30s, a single mom with a lively 4-year-old named Luke. On paper, she seemed charming. Cute kid, warm smile, scattered energy, but there was something about her presence that felt like static electricity, like she was always talking at me rather than having a conversation. You know the type, intense, persuasive, like the universe owed her a favor. It all started innocently enough. One morning, I was walking Scout past her porch when she leaned out in a pink fluffy robe, hair in a messy bun, and said, "Hey, would you mind grabbing my mail this week? I'm headed to San Antonio for a conference." "No big deal," I said yes. I mean, it seemed reasonable. I was trying to be neighborly. That was my first mistake. A week later, Luke was playing in the yard, Paw Patrol backpack dangling from his tiny shoulders, and Jenna suddenly handed me his hand. "Hold him for a second while I grab something," she said, then bolted inside. I froze, standing there holding this toddler like I'd agreed to some Craigslist babysitting gig. 20 minutes later, she returned with a bowl of cereal, smiled at me, and said thanks. I let it slide, then came Tango, her golden doodle. One afternoon, she just handed me the leash without explanation, ran inside, and left me standing there clueless. Tango whined. I had no idea which house he belonged to. 10 minutes later, she returned, casually thanking me like I had performed a miracle. That's when I realized Jenna didn't see me as a neighbor. She saw me as free labor. The requests escalated. "Can you feed miso tonight? Just a quick thing while I have a date. Hold Luke for 15 minutes while I handle errands." Spoiler, 15 minutes stretched to 90, and I missed an important Zoom call. I tried hinting gently, "Maybe let me know next time," but she laughed like I'd offered to adopt her entire household. Finally, last week, she arrived with a spiral notebook. "I'm swamped this weekend. Work, Luke's soccer, my sister's baby shower. Can you—" And she started listing chores. Feed Tango on Friday and Sunday, water plants, take in packages, check in on Luke if I had time. I couldn't even process the absurdity. I interrupted her. "No." The look she gave me was pure shock, like I'd just ruined the moral fabric of the universe. "No to what?" she asked, blinking. "Everything. I'm not your maid. I'm not your babysitter. I'm your neighbor. You can't just dump your life on me," she gasped like I'd punched a puppy. "So you're going to be a bad neighbor then?" "No," I said firmly. "I'm being a neighbor. That's all." And just like that, the dynamic changed. She started whispering to Barb, the HOA's self-appointed spy, while I kept walking Scout, trying to pretend the tension wasn't a physical weight in the air. My mom, ever the diplomat, said, "Maybe you could have said it nicer." But here's the thing. Niceness wasn't working. 2 days later, she showed up with a plastic grocery bag. Inside, dry homemade muffins and a note titled "Peace Offering." She apologized, but not really. She detailed her struggles, overwhelm, being a single mom, life's weight, and expected me to feel touched. I nodded, said, "Okay, I accept the apology, but my boundary still stands." She sighed dramatically. "You were so nice before. Now you're acting like I'm the worst person alive." I didn't respond. Being nice doesn't mean being available 24/7, and yet, even after drawing the line, her child Luke began appearing at my door, alone, holding his stuffed animal, asking if Scout could come out to play. I was confused, flustered, and frankly nervous. One day, he appeared soaked from a Texas downpour, barefoot, jacketless. That was my breaking point. I wrapped him in a towel, called in to work, and sat on my porch thinking, I didn't sign up for this. But if I don't step in, who will? I called my sister, a social worker. Her advice was simple: document everything. So I started a log. Luke visits, dates, what was said. And the more he came over, the more I liked him. He was thoughtful, sweet, smart. But I wasn't ready to be a second parent. I just wanted to be a neighbor. A good one. Not a lifeline. That night, I sat on my couch staring at the wall, my coffee long gone cold, wondering how my simple act of neighborliness had turned into a slow-motion disaster of responsibility, moral obligation, and tiny barefooted humans wandering into my life. I thought drawing the line would be enough. I really did. Jenna stopped asking for favors directly, and for a while I breathed easier. Scout and I returned to our peaceful walks. My Zoom calls went uninterrupted, and I even treated myself to a little extra caffeine just because I could. But peace is a fragile thing in suburbia, I quickly learned, because Luke didn't care about boundaries. At first, it was small things. A knock at my door in the late afternoon, and there he stood, holding his crumpled coloring book. "Can Scout come out?" he'd ask, eyes hopeful. I'd tell him maybe later. Then another day, he appeared mid-morning with a juice box, claiming, "Mom said you're safe if something happens." My heart skipped a beat, but I assumed it was just a kid saying something silly. Then came Tuesday. It had rained all night, big Texas storm style. Thunder rattled the windows, puddles filled the cul-de-sac, leaves and trash bins drifted across the wet asphalt. I was sipping my coffee on the porch when I saw him. Luke, soaked through, pajama bottoms sticking to his legs, Spider-Man t-shirt clinging barefoot, dragging that same stuffed animal I'd seen him carry since day one. I didn't hesitate. I ran to him, scooped him up, and wrapped him in a towel. "What happened?" "Where's your mom?" I asked, panic rising. She told me if I'm scared or if something happens, come to you," he whispered. Every alarm in my head went off. This wasn't just a little awkward neighbor responsibility anymore. This was danger. I called Jenna immediately. No answer. Texted. 20 minutes later, "Oh lol, sorry. I fell asleep? My stomach twisted. This was a 4-year-old, drenched and shivering, wandering the neighborhood alone while his mother slept. I had to do something. I called my sister in Denver, voice shaking, explaining everything. She didn't even hesitate. "You've already done more than most. But now you need to do this officially. CPS. I had to call CPS. I'd never done it before." My fingers hovered over the phone, heart hammering. When I finally dialed, the calm professional voice on the other end guided me. I gave them the log I'd kept, dates, times, exact phrases, and incidents. The walks, the unsupervised toddler, the dry muffins, the unlocked doors. I felt like I was betraying Jenna, but more than that, I was protecting Luke. By Thursday, Jenna knew. I came home from walking Scout to see a CPS business card tucked into her doorframe. She was standing there, hair wild, eyes red, arms crossed like some apocalyptic warrior. "You called them?" she hissed. "You have no idea what you've done." I stayed calm, measured. I couldn't ignore it. "He's a kid. He's not safe. You think you're the hero? You just made everything worse," she spat, then slammed the door. For the next few days, silence reigned. No Luke at my door. No music blasting from Jenna's living room. Just the hum of rainwater dripping from gutters and Scout happily trotting along the sidewalk. I tried to resume normal life, but every time I looked at her house, my chest tightened. And yet, I missed him. I missed Luke's little observations, his careful consideration about where Scout could sit, the way he asked permission to sit on my couch like it mattered. I felt guilty for liking him, for caring, when all I wanted was to be a neighbor, not a substitute parent. Then, 2 months later, Jenna showed up again. Hoodie faded, hair pulled back in a practical bun, carrying Luke's stuffed animal behind her back. She wasn't defensive, just exhausted. "Can I talk?" she asked. She finally admitted the truth. Luke was in foster care. "Not forever," she said, "but temporary. Clean clothes, a bed, pancakes made by someone who could actually watch him." I stayed quiet, letting her words sink in. "I hated you," she said, voice cracking. "I thought you were the worst. But I've been sober 2 weeks. Therapy every day. I'm doing the work. And just like that, the drama of the past months, the muffins, the unsolicited babysitting, the passive-aggressive HOA gossip, condensed into a single, undeniable truth. I had made the call. I had saved a child. She handed me the stuffed animal. "He wanted you to have this." "Scout likes it too," I nodded. My throat tightened, tears threatening. Not full-blown crying, just the kind where your chest feels like it's being pressed in by an invisible hand. "You didn't drag me into your mess," I said softly. "Maybe not," she admitted. "But at least you did it." She walked back across the lawn. No dramatic music, no slow-motion heroics. Just a tired woman trying to rebuild her life, and that's where things stand now. Luke hasn't returned home yet, but he's safe. Jenna is working on herself. The porch light is back on, the flowers replanted. I sometimes see her waving at me, real waves this time, not the fake HOA hello. And occasionally, I still think about the mess, the moral tightrope I had to walk. And the moment I realize that being a good neighbor sometimes means doing the hard, uncomfortable thing, because sometimes helping someone doesn't mean being nice. It means standing firm. The days after that felt surreal. Jenna's house was quiet but alive again. Soft music playing, the smell of something cooking drifting through the air, the porch light on at night. Luke wasn't home yet, but he was safe. That was all I needed to know, yet it wasn't just Jenna or Luke who had to adjust. Me, I had to process what I'd done. I'd drawn the line, called CPS, and suddenly I was the nosy neighbor in some people's eyes. Barb, of course, had to chime in. The next day, a vague post on Nextdoor. Some people should mind their own business before involving the government. 12 likes, just enough to sting, but not enough to matter. I caught myself overthinking it. Could I have handled it differently? Maybe. Could I have said it nicer? Sure, but then I remembered Luke, soaked and barefoot, trusting me to keep him safe. No apology, no gentle conversation, no, please just hold him for a minute. Nothing could change that. He needed action, not negotiation. And here's the thing. In the mess of it all, something unexpected happened. I started to appreciate the little victories of standing firm. My boundaries weren't just protecting me. They were protecting a kid who couldn't protect himself. I hadn't just been a neighbor. I'd been a lifeline. Jenna eventually came back, a different person. Sobriety, therapy, accountability. It showed in her eyes, her posture, the way she greeted Luke's stuffed animal to me, as if acknowledging a shared understanding. She thanked me quietly without fanfare. For the first time, I realized that forgiveness doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes it's just a nod, a shared smile, a small acknowledgement of the mess we've all endured and survived. I also started noticing changes in the neighborhood dynamic. People who had whispered and glared now waved without that petty tension. Barb, I suspect, had moved on to her next small crusade. And me? I returned to my walks with Scout, Zoom calls, and meal prepping, but with a new sense of clarity. I knew what I was willing to do and what I wasn't. Luke's visits became structured through his foster arrangement. We FaceTime on weekends. He tells me about Oliver, the dinosaur-obsessed new friend, about banana pancakes, and yes, about Scout. Each story warms a part of me that I didn't expect to feel. A tugging at the heart that's equal parts joy and longing. And Jenna? She continues her recovery slowly, steadily. I see her leaving for meetings, tote bag in hand, determined to rebuild her life for her son. She waves sometimes, no fake HOA performance, just a real wave. And occasionally she brings a little baked good. This time actual banana bread, moist and sweet, not the dry muffins of before. It's not perfect. The house next door isn't fully mine. The drama isn't gone. And yes, sometimes I question if I overstepped. But then I remember the look in Luke's eyes when he came to me wet and scared, holding his stuffed animal for comfort. And I know I did the right thing. Boundaries, I've realized, aren't about being mean, they're about respect. Respect for yourself, for your neighbors, and in some situations for the innocent who can't speak for themselves. Being nice doesn't mean being a doormat. And sometimes standing firm is the kindest, bravest thing you can do. Life goes on. Scout still chases squirrels, I still sip coffee on my porch, and Jenna is learning to be the parent Luke deserves. We aren't friends yet, and maybe we never will be fully. But we're neighbors in the truest sense now. Not perfect, not drama-free, but honest. Real, and sometimes that's enough.